First things first, where's your shitter?
Art 101 with Mr. Burgher.
Hey scholars, welcome back to Art 101 with me, Mr. Burgher. I'm a professional artist and master educator attempting to bring... Hey scholars, welcome back to Art 101 with me, Mr. Burgher. I'm a professional artist and master educator attempting to bring you the best in our historical content. If you like the video, please give me a like, share, subscribe, and interaction goes a long way. Appreciate it.
If my life were a movie, there'd be a sign on it saying, "Caution, some scenes too intense for younger viewers."
So today what I'd like to talk a little bit about is the motion picture industry. It is a recognized art form and big time industry, and it's very much a form of art. And so today I'd like to talk a little bit about how it got from its beginnings to where it is today.
The art of cinema has roots going all the way back to 1872, when Leland Stanford, the founder of Stanford University, took a bet. He bet another man that when a horse was running, all four hooves came off of the ground at some point. Photographer Edward Maybridge was hired to set the record straight on this bet. He lined up a series of still cameras closely together along a racetrack. Each camera's shutter was connected to a string that was released by the horse as it ran by. The resulting photographs of the horse in motion proved that all four hooves did indeed leave the ground at some point as the horse ran. Later, Maybridge discovered a way to project the image in a rapid succession in a device that he called the zoopraxiscope. As the novelty of this concept caught on to other creative people, cinematography would become the resulting birth.
And now, our feature presentation.
Today's movies are visual experiences, but then again, they have always been a two-dimensional image that moves. Inconceivable!
Inconceivable! Inconceivable! Inconceivable! Inconceivable! Inconceivable! You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
A movie works through the mechanics of the eye. The retina holds the image for a fraction of a second after the image is removed. When the images are shown quickly, we see it as one continuous motion, or a persistence of vision. Much of the power of film comes from its ability to reconstruct time. Film is not under the same rules as clock time. It can move through the past, present, or future, as well as mix them all up together. Time can stand still or rocket forward.
Look who knows so much, huh?
We will examine a few of the films from the last century that have highly innovated and or captured some of the important aspects of the culture of their times. George Eastman was the founder of the Kodak Camera and Film Company. His rolled film was used by Thomas Edison to invent a camera that would shoot a continuous series of photographs. These photographs were placed in a loop, creating an infinite pattern of travel. His invention was called the kintograph, and the film was shown from the kintoscope cabinet. Auguste and Louis Lemieux improved on Edison's idea by creating the cinematograph. This was a camera, processor, and projector that was created in 1895. In 1907, the brothers also invented the chemistry that made it possible for the autochrome plate system, which is the application that allowed color to be added into the photo process. Movies became big business, and in 1910, film was recognized as an art form. By the 1920s, we began to see the development of what we know as a movie star. Douglas Fairbanks, Greta Garbo, and Charlie Chaplin were huge. In 1927, by modern standards would be a little bit of a controversial movie came out, known as The Jazz Singer. This would be the first movie to have a soundtrack. Films with sound became known as talkie films, and quickly became mandatory for any film that people were going to go to see.
Are you gonna bark all day? doggy? Or are you gonna bite?
The first cartoon with sound was Steamboat Willie, created by a little animation guy by the name of Walt Disney. Now, beyond Mickey Mouse, other popular talkie stars were Bob Hope, Mae West, and Will Rogers. To forget a little bit about the Great Depression, musicals became big time in the 1930s. Film would again become very, very popular after World War II. 1926 was Hollywood's best year to date in terms of revenue, with a little bit of adjustment for inflation. Fast forward to the 50s. This was the decade of the rebels. Marlon Brando, James Dean, and Elvis Presley. Although they had the science to be able to shoot in color, black and white was the preferred method until the 1960s. Films like West Side Story, Planet of the Apes, and Cleopatra would be shot in color and became very, very popular. Films were really geared towards adults by the 1970s. True Grit, The Godfather, and Rocky were highly successful adult films from the 1970s. We also see the advent of the event movie take place, with the first event film being Jaws. In 1977, the Magnetic Video Corporation released the VCR and 50 films through 20th Century Fox. Side note, MASH was their #1 seller in 1977.
It's an insane asylum, and it's your fault!
Now I'm going to say something a little bit controversial here, but the 1980s was really the decade of the ugly blockbuster. There were very, very popular films that really weren't that good. And the #1 cast of these ugly blockbusters was the Brat Pack. Molly Ringwald, Emilio Estevez, Demi Moore, Anthony Michael Hall, and others were these kid yuppies that were creating these films that were big in my heart but really kind of cinematically unsuccessful. Films like Back to the Future, St. Elmo's Fire, Pretty in Pink, or The Goonies. Now, that's not to say that there weren't high-quality films. We can look at films like The Temple of Doom, Raging Bull, or Platoon for examples of those. By the 1990s, we would see new technologies with computer graphics emerge. This made films like Forrest Gump, Titanic, and Natural Born Killers possible. In 1997, the DVD would hit the stores and change the way we interact with film. In the 2000s, CGI, or computer-generated imagery, creates realistic effects in a safe and relatively inexpensive manner. Films like The Lord of the Rings, The Chronicles of Narnia, or The Pirates of the Caribbean all use extensive digital aspects for special effects.
I assure you our intentions are strictly honorable.
There's also a trend of retelling old stories for a new CGI generation. King Kong, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Batman Begins, and even True Grit became the target of a reboot for a new generation.
I love that story. Let's go watch some movies. If you get a chance, check out my Burgher Acres. I've got a segment called VCR where I do some video review. But anyway, we'll see you on the next one. Have a good day.